Hello, friends. Today I'm going to take up something of an odd topic. This is a 7/8 inch wrench. Box end wrench is one of the ways it's described. It's a nice wrench. I bought a set of these about 30 some years ago, and they still work. They're still really nice. I mean, it's polished. I don't know if you can really see that. I think you can sort of see in the light. It gleams. It's shiny. Maybe it's chrome. Could even be chrome vanadium steel. I'm not sure if that's the set I got or if it's a different set. I remember that term. It's stuck in my mind as being particularly melodious. Anyway, I remember this particular size because way back in the day when we had to move propane tanks around to our teepees or trailers or, dwellings of one kind or another out in the woods at Ananda Village, 25-gallon propane tanks weighed, I don't know, at least 100 pounds, maybe 150 pounds. They were very unwieldy, very challenging to move. We would get a hand truck, but, almost inevitably the thing would tip over. But what the 7/8 inch wrench, how that figured into it was the nut that screwed the connection to the gas line was always a 7/8 inch nut. And it was always reverse thread, a very important detail. You had to act like you were loosening it in order to tighten it, and you had to act like you were tightening it in order to loosen it. Important safety tip, because you could be reefing away thinking you're loosening it when you're actually tightening it and it just doesn't come off. And anyway, it's just interesting to me to look back. Just recently, we were doing some roofing at the church here in Sacramento, and I had to get a torch to put torch down roofing on the roof, which involved a propane bottle, which involved changing the tank. So I got out my trusty 7/8 inch wrench. I remembered all the way back to the day when that was the size, and it's still, these things still work after all these years. The thread sizes have not changed. Now, if you think back, part of my purpose in bringing this up is that some things change really slowly. 50 years ago, we were still using three-prong outlets in the wall for the electricity and plugging in three-prong cords. And 50 years later, it hasn't changed. Now you think, how many things have changed in these 50 years? I mean, if you try to operate software on, say, your phone, your computer, your whatever, 5 years old, 10 years old is like another lifetime. 20 years old. I mean, I have a computer that is 20 years old that I got in late 1999 that will still boot and is still functional. However, when you've said that, you've just about said it all, because nothing else really works on it. The date comes up as 1900 and I have to manually change it because the battery's gone dead, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, so many things change so quickly. We're in a new age. We're in Dwapara Yuga. Things are changing quickly. Things are becoming much more based on energy, the flow of energy, much less on fixed chrome vanadium steel like it used to be back in Kali Yuga when, you went to the blacksmith, or everything was much more firm, rigid, fixed. I remember going to foreign countries. I remember, in fact, buying plumbing parts in Italy. And I couldn't, I didn't have the language to describe these parts. And, you try looking those up in your little dictionary, and good luck with that. That's not going to happen. They don't have specific, nuanced descriptions. You have to be in the field and talking to people. Oh, this is called that. In some cases, it was the exact same word in English, but it was pronounced with an Italian accent. But anyway, I remember going to a plumbing parts store, and I finally just had to say to them, will you let me just come and look? I'll look in the bins and I will find what I need, rather than me trying to explain it to you, which I just was hopeless. I just couldn't, they couldn't get it. I couldn't explain it. It was, anyway, I was able to find what I needed, buy it. And lo and behold, the sizes were the same. You know, a 1-inch pipe in Italy is the same as a 1-inch pipe in America. It's not a metric size. It's not metric threads. It's not, you know, some of those things actually seem sort of universal. And then we come to all the things where it seems like people make money or people earn bonus points by not cooperating, by making sure that their system is uniquely their system. The cords only plug into their computer or their phone or their outlet or their data connection or whatever it may be. And you have to buy a special one, and it always costs $30 or $40 or $50, and you have to buy a whole mountain of those things, and then, you know, 3 years, 5 years from now, those will go obsolete. Ay, 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 ay. I mean, it's enough to kind of make you crazy. And yet, underneath all of that, there is a changeless reality that service is still service. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're still trying to help. We're still trying to accomplish a job. You know, touching back on that roofing job, you know, I spent 2 days on the roof. And I should say we spent 2 days on the roof. Not Nirmala and me, but several people and I were up there working. And it's challenging work. It seems one of my friends up there on the roof said, you know, I've made a realization that everything that goes on a roof is heavy. And it's actually, there's a kind of a grain of truth in that. It's like it has to be, you know, hefty enough to stand up to the sun, to stand up to the rain, to stand up to the wind, you know, the hail, the leaves, the branches, whatever it may be that is blowing around. It's going to hit the roof and it's going to be exposed to the heat and the cold, etc. But the work up there, though challenging, and yes, of course, getting all that heavy material up there and muscling it around and dealing with it, installing it, getting it all to be waterproof. Yes, challenging work, but very satisfying on a certain level. And I say all this because ultimately we have to keep looking for what doesn't change, not in the outward world so much. I mean, here I am holding a 7/8 inch wrench because it's well made and I appreciate that. And it still works. It's still, it's still 7/8 of an inch. It hasn't changed. It hasn't, 22 millimeters, 7/8. It still actually functions that way. But, we can get very nostalgic and caught up in, well, they don't make them like they used to. And, all of those, my grandpappy used to say whatever. We get caught in the past thinking, oh, back in the good old days. Well, the good old days weren't necessarily that good. And in any case, we have to live now. We have to deal with what's in front of us now. But the ideals of selfless service to others, the ideals of flowing gracefully with change. The 7/8 inch wrench doesn't necessarily adapt itself very well. It's still going to be 7/8 tomorrow. Someday this thing will melt or be destroyed, or people will just stop using it and it'll get thrown in the dustbins of history. Some point they won't use 7/8 inch nuts and it'll be no point to have a 7/8 inch wrench. But the point is to look inside and find what has deep value eternally, not just in terms of years, because the years come and the years go. Ultimately, none of us will be around in this world 100, 200, 500 years from now. I mean, medical science talks somewhat whimsically about, we could be close to the generation that lives forever. We'll just keep replacing body parts, like they do on cars or whatever, and we'll just keep right on going. Well, that's all great to think of, but just do think, do the math or extrapolate out a little bit. How would you like to live 100, 200, 300 years? the actuarial charts that the Social Security Administration has, I don't think include having people routinely live to be 150, 200, 300. And what if your health is slowly diminishing over that, and your interest in engaging the world is slowly diminishing, but now you can't leave, you can't get out, the body won't die. We have to just count the blessings that we have and look for the eternal within, because that's really the only place we're ever going to find it. And once we find that, then we can express it faithfully, lovingly, joyfully out to the world. Namaste.